Hi, I'm Stuart Clark, the Managing Director of Russell & Russell.
And I'm Yvonne Webb of Action Coach Business Coaching. And together we are your co-hosts and sponsors of Glasgow Business Stories. We hope you're loving Glasgow Business Stories. So if you are, please do us a favour and subscribe. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, and we want you to hear all the wonderful stories from the businesses here in Glasgow. So please subscribe now. John, thank you for joining us on Glasgow Business Stories.
Thank you for having me.
So can we start by you telling us who you are and what you do?
I am John Morris, owner of Prime Property Auctions. So I'm an auctioneer. We sell residential real estate, we sell land, we sell commercial as quickly as humanly possible for our clients. So our main offer to the market is we will sell your property in 28 days, no sale, no fee. So we actually put our skin in the game. It costs us money to list your property, and if we don't sell it, we don't get paid.
Fair.
Yeah.
And so it's a relatively new business. How long have you been trading?
So we've been trading for 3 years now. So this will be our third year. And we have pretty much doubled every single year. So our first year we did £750,000. Last year we did 1.5, and this year we're on for 2.5.
That's some great growth.
I mean, I wish it was more, but we're doing all right.
Yeah. And how do you go about attracting clients and business?
So ultimately, I have been doing this job for over a decade now. So I do have a very big client book as it is. So my background is I actually went to university. So I studied at Edinburgh Napier University and did property development and valuation, which sounds like a very fancy title, but it's just to be qualified as a surveyor. And then I was in uni, like during the massive 2008 fallout, completely oblivious that the world was coming to an end and property values were diving. I was like, I'm going to be a surveyor and I'm going to be a millionaire, blah, 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 blah. And then when I qualified, and I was like, excellent, I'll just get a job as a surveyor. And I was going for meetings with people in like Knight Frank and Savills and a variety of other companies. And they're like, we have just laid off half our surveying team. And I was like, oh, and my dad's a commercial property lawyer, and he always said, it's like, John, you go do property, you'll be really, really good at property, which I never fucking really understood what he meant. And I remember having a go at him, and I was like, Dad, you told me to go and do this at university because I'll get a job. And he was like, fucking nobody knew that was going to happen. He's like, the world almost ended, John. And he's like, you don't have a job. Loads of people don't have a job. So I got fortunate enough to get offered a job as an intern for a property auction house based out of Glasgow. And at the time I was riding rickshaws around Edinburgh and working in a restaurant. And they were like, oh, basically my day off, I would get the bus through and then intern for them, pick up the phones, make the teas and just do anything and just like kind of be about. And then when they held live auctions, I would come and run about and take people who had won their bids to go and pay the money. They eventually offered me a job. The guy was like, we're thinking about hiring you because we want to open an office in Edinburgh. Would you like to do that? And I was like, no. I like working for free. Can I just? And he was like, what? And I was like, yes, of course. I want the fucking job. Like, why do you think I've been like here? So I came on. They hired me as a sales exec. Went up to sales manager, property manager, became a branch manager, and then became general manager. And as I say, I worked there for a decade, just continually showing up and giving a good service to my clients and trying to constantly get people that wanted property sold quickly, try and find the people that wanted to buy them, and just always be on the phone was kind of my thing. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll phone that guy. That guy told me he wanted a property here. Oh yeah, I remember this, blah, blah, blah. And then towards the end of my career, I wanted to make maybe changes, and I was like, we should do it this way. So I'm quite big on social media. Like, obviously we live in a social media era, and that's kind of where people get to know you. So if you put out content online, then ultimately that's where people reach you. So I had quite a few clients off the back of doing a lot of social media, and my old company didn't really like it. They're like, we don't, that's not what we do here we don't do social media. And then I was like, well, I don't know then, like, if I want to work here anymore. And he was like, cool, you don't have to work here. And then I left, which I remember I was on holiday, and then I had the phone call. He's like, yeah, and we just decided to part ways. My wife was heavily pregnant at the time, and I remember coming back like into the room because I went away to have the call, and I literally was like, I don't have a job. Like, what do I do? And my wife was great. She was like, just do what you normally do. Like, go do this. Like, so basically set up Prime and started trading out of my attic, and with literally a laptop that my friend gave to me for free. Because he was like, I've got a spare laptop. Do you want this laptop? And I was like, okay. Which he didn't tell me at the time he'd stolen from his old company that went bankrupt. So you couldn't actually like use USBs to save like stuff on it because it had like some sort of software on it, which made the start of my career in Prime a little bit of it. I was like, I saved everything from this onto this. And he was like, oh yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. I was like, okay. But then thankfully, it seems to have been going well. So social media has been a very good avenue to win clients.
And did you have any savings set up? Like, was it always planned to then set up, or was it just necessity?
So the day after I had the phone call with my old boss, I phoned my mortgage broker. So I've always invested, and I obviously worked for my previous employer for a long time, and I sell properties. Investment properties is what we're doing. So I was just slowly and surely building up my own portfolio, had rental income, and I had a property that had quite a lot of equity in it. So I phoned my mortgage broker and I was like, can you please like remortgage this for me? He's like, not a problem. He's like, I need this, this and this from you. And I think I pulled out about, I want to say like 15, 20K, just as a buffer. And then I sold one of my watches. Like I had a watch that I was like, I've got a couple of Rolexes, and I was like, I'm starting a business. My wife is pregnant. I don't have any income. I don't need 2 flashy watches. So I was like, I would rather have 5 months worth of the mortgage paid. So managed to get that sold. I was like, money in the bank. But then when you set up, like it is just paying for things all the time, because I had to pay a developer to create the website, because what I said to him was like, I need a website where I can list properties on and people can make offers and they can see the photographs. Like, that's what I need. He's like, excellent, I can do that. This is the price. I was like, cool. And then I'm like, I need also to do this. He's like, okay, we can have it do that, but you need to buy this plugin. I was buying our plugin. He's like, okay, well, that plugin also means you need this plugin. And I was like, for fuck's sake. And then just like everything, I've got to have like portals for the website to speak to. So you've got to pay for the subscription for that. And obviously, like for the first like month and a half, I was just like, how? Like, I'm not making any money. I'm just spending it all. I was like, I need a website to be able to work, to be able to list properties on. And thankfully, it all worked out. And we had, I think my first auction was on the 3rd of August, 2022. My bank account got set up on the morning of the auction. I was freaking out because I was like, when I sell something today, not if, I was like, when I sell something today, I was like, I have no way of actually taking payment off people. And we got a phone call from the bank, so like, everything's all set up, you're all cool. And I was like, oh, thank God for this. And we managed to sell two properties the first auction. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to work. I was like, everything's going to be fine.
And was that the day they knew it was going to work, the 3rd of August? You thought, right, I've got 2 or...
No. Because I think so when I started out, I think I had 15 properties on the books. So like just trying to like, okay, well, how do I know I need more properties to sell more? And I was like, okay, I know I need to market. And then I met one of my friends who was like, you need to meet my mate. He's got a marketing agency and he tells this story all the time. We went to Wagamama's and I was sat there and I was like, green. He was like, you just weren't yourself. Like usually you're quite boisterous and loud, and he was like, you were just so quiet. And I was just in my head, I was like, where is the next deal going to come from? Like, where's the next person that wants to sell? And he was like, yeah, no, you can spend. Well, you just spend this much money on Google or Facebook and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't need to spend more money. I need to make the money to do it. And thankfully, I had quite a lot of clients who would just phone me up and say, oh, I've got a property to sell. And it's more like the way I was like, I need properties. And it's kind of like, if I like wish it to happen, I was like, I'd really like, if I have some like land sells really quite well. And then one of my clients would phone me, I was like, I've got a couple of bits of land I want to sell. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I just drove past the commercial property. I was like, I could probably sell that. And then another client would phone me and go, I've got a couple of commercial properties I want to sell. I'm like, yep, no, I can come out. I'll come out there today. And from there, it just kind of like gathered speed, like doing my own social medias, telling all the people I knew, like I've set up on my own now, putting it out there, just advertising. And it has just kind of gathered pace, I think.
So it was really your little black book that got you started then, and the people that you knew from your client base?
I think so because somebody phoned me and I was like, just so you know, I don't work for my old company anymore. And he went, I don't care. Do you still sell properties? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, cool. Here's the address. Can you go sell it for me? And I was like, oh yeah. Because I was having a little bit of, oh no, is this going to work? Like, oh no. And my mate literally said, he's like, you've been doing this job for 10 years already. Why wouldn't it work? And I was like, I don't know. That like proper imposter syndrome of like, am I good enough? Like while also telling myself like everything will be fine. I'm also telling myself like, shit, what happens if it doesn't work? And for the first, I would say 2-3 months, I was so petrified of it not working. That was kind of like all consuming. And my wife was great. She was like, everything's going to be fine. And she was also said like, if it doesn't work, you can go get a job. Like, but in my head, I was like, oh my God, if it doesn't work, I'm a failure. And it's like, just go get a job.
And this is your wife who's just given birth or just about to give
Correct.
birth?
So she's looking after an actual baby and an adult baby. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, you'll be absolutely fine. Like, you can get a job. I also had job offers from other people and decided I'm going to try and make this worse. So I made it out so much worse in my head than it actually was ever going to be. And then obviously once it started working, I was like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like, oh yeah, I was never scared. I was very terrified.
And when was that point? When was the point you went, oh right, okay, this is going to go?
So to put you in a picture, the company I used to work for was selling like between 70 and 100 properties every single month. So that's what I was like, to be a successful business, this is the volume you need to be doing. Obviously, I sold 2 in the first month. I think the next auction I sold like 6. But I was still like nowhere near that. And I'm like, oh my God, like how much money do you need in the bank before you hire staff, before you do all these things? And my now business partner, he basically made me understand, because he had a business before. He had a Airbnb cleaning service. And I was like, oh my God, like, am I doing okay? And I think that's what I needed. I needed somebody just like to put a hand on my shoulder, like, everything's fine. Like, you're actually, for a new business, you're doing really, really well. So I basically, he was like, well, I know how many properties you sold. I know kind of your average fees. Is like, but how much money have you got in the bank? So I just logged out the bank. And he was like, you'll be fine. Because I was like, how much do you need? And I was like, and then I spoke to my accountant as well. He was like, some businesses like are treading water for like the first 3 or 4 years. He's like, if you've got positive cash flow in the first 6 months, and I think we were elected for that in the first 3 months. So I think I put a lot more pressure on myself to be able to like, if we're not selling 50 properties every single month, then I'm not doing well.
So you're comparing yourself to your old
yes, exactly,
company rather than going, actually, what's my break even? What's my bare minimum that I need to do in order to be a success for the...
Yeah, because I was thinking like, oh, if I hire somebody, it's going to be what, 30 grand a year. And I spoke to one of my friends. He's like, it's not 30 grand you need though. Like, you need like 2.5 grand. Like, pay them for the month. And also, if then they don't make any money or like it doesn't work out, you let them go. And it was kind of, and I was like, oh yeah. I was like, you don't. He's like, you physically don't need the entire money. But in my head, I was like, if I want to hire somebody and it's going to cost me this, I need to make sure that that's in the bank. Because the worst thing I was thinking was, if I hire somebody and I can't pay their wages, I'll be like, that would be terrible. And it's like, I've got other people that's like, you need to be able to like pay them first and not be able to pay yourself. And then I was like, but if I can't pay myself, my wife and child won't eat. So I think there was all that going on. So I definitely waited to hire staff too long, because I could do everything myself anyway. Like, I know every part of my business. But I was so scared in case if I can't pay someone money and then I'm like, oh, I worked for John and he didn't pay me my wages, he's a fucking dick. And I was like, oh, that was probably like weighing down on me as well.
And what was the tipping point then? Was it a certain amount in the bank, or was it just, I'm so busy, I need to take someone else on?
I think it was, so my business partner offered to work with me for free. He was like, you're clearly, you know what you're doing. You're building something here. He's like, I don't want anything from you. He's like, just teach me. And then we actually came to agreement. So I pay referral fees. That's how my business is growing. And I was like, well, you can be in it with me, and I will pay you commission. If you bring something on, we'll sell it. And once we sell it, I'll pay you a commission. So when he came on, that was how it started. He's obviously now got shares in the business and is driving it forward. But I think when it came to the level of output, there's only so many hours in the day. And I got quite fortunate with our first hire, because everybody in property, I'm sure that everyone has seen we'll buy your house for cash in 2 days. And it's usually some guy that's just done a course. And there was a guy who was running ads for selling commercial property. And commercial property usually is a little bit more savvy investors. You need to know a lot more than just selling a house. It's different investors you deal with. So anytime I see these ads, I fill in my details so I can introduce myself to give them an exit for their properties. And I spoke to the guy, and he was a lovely, lovely kid. Like, that's the only way and I really got on with him, and he was honest with me. He was like, to be honest, I've just started out. I don't really know what I'm doing. And I was like, come into the office, and I met him, really liked him. And I offered him a job from there. And then, like, me being able to tell him to do things, and that was like, okay, me being able to say, like, can you do this, this, and this, and I can work on my own stuff, that made me realize if I have another 4 or 5 people and teach them how to do it effectively, like, that's really how I'm going to grow this business, instead of like me just doing everything.
And how quickly did you take on the rest of the team then? Because it sounds like quite quickly you knew that was the way to grow.
So we went from, for the first 6 months, we worked out of the attic. We then moved into an office where we shared a space with solicitors. And then we spent 4 months in that office, and we moved into another office with our one staff member. We then, within a month in that office, we hired a full-time media guy. So instead of maybe hiring an admin assistant or another sales person, we were like, we need more properties. That was it. We need more properties. We need more attention on us. No more people that know that we are the people to come to if they need to sell their property quickly. That's better. So we went to the Scottish Business Conference, and Lewis, my business partner, was running about and speaking to the media team of the people that held the conference. It was like, where did you come from? Like, what's your background? We do this. And we put out an ad on Indeed or something. And Nathan applied, and his CV was amazing. Like, it was just like, this is the guy that we need. And then once we hired him, we were obviously putting more content out on social media. So then people were like, oh, that looks like a fun place to work. So people were actually like messaging us, like, can I get an interview? And then when people would come in and be like, do you want to work for like commission, and we'll pay you minimum wage and you get commission when you sell stuff? And people were like, yes, I want to work here. And after, I think, another 6 months, we hired another like 5 people. And then, so we needed to move office at that point, because our old office was like smaller than this room. And there was 8 of us all in there. So it was so funny, like, because we all got our headsets on, and it's like everyone on, like, having sales calls and like shouting and all this stuff. And you could just see people in the background, like, trying to hear what people are saying on the phone. So we had to then move office again. And then as soon as we moved office, we hired another 2 sales staff. And then we've just, as of last week, we've hired a business development manager as well. So we're up to 17 of us now.
Amazing. And it's quite an unusual move to hire a social media person so early in the game. Tell me about why you did that and how important social media is for your business.
I think narcissism is a massive part of it. We needed leads, and we needed more people to know who we were. Social media is effectively, it's a free platform. So the more you put out, and it's like if something goes viral, then there's so much free traffic you get from that. So it was we toyed with it, and we flirted with the idea of like, we got an outsourced company to come in, and really liked the guy. He came in on one day because we were like, we want loads of shorts made. Can you make us a month's worth? So we wanted 30 shorts so we could post every single day for an entire month. And he came in the day, literally nothing went right. We would pick up the phones and be like, I'll get this call, and then it'll be really good. It'll be back and forth. We can show negotiation. Straight to voicemail. Or like someone picked like, oh, you need to phone me back tomorrow, so I'm doing something. And it's like, and the guy's like, do you want to go out and I will just ask you questions because like nothing's happening on the phone? And I was just like, okay. And we realized a lot of the stuff we do is like fly in the wall, kind of peeling the curtain behind what actually goes on to like get sales done. And we were like, we need a full-time person like to do this, because we weren't busy enough at that point to go, okay, I could have hired an admin assistant and made my life a little bit easier, but I could do the admin and everything as it was. It was just part of my daily tasks anyway. So I wasn't drowning insofar as like, oh no, I now can't facilitate the work. At the point it got to, okay, now I'm selling too many properties that I can't phone my clients because I'm chasing up IDs and I'm still trying to complete the legal documents. So it was a good move for us to hire a full-time media, because it made us very prevalent in the social media. And I think within the Glasgow property community, and within the property community in Scotland, because it is quite small, we are fairly well known. So it's good. And I think being on social media and being as vocal as we have been has been a massive like bonus to us and like helped our growth massively.
And did you plan on that being part of the recruitment strategy that you're saying, or was it purely for leads and it's just the recruitment kind of feels going, that looks like a nice place to work? Was a nice spin-off from that? I
almost think like, so my old job, they didn't want me doing the social media. So I don't know if it's like maybe subconsciously, it's like a massive fuck you. So the fact that we've been authentic and we've done it it basically qualifies like candidates for us. So when we hire staff now, we've got a video interview process. So you've got to answer all the questions. And then after that, they also have to watch like a short YouTube video that's on our YouTube channel. So if somebody doesn't want to work with us, like they won't complete the rest of the form. So then our most recent hire, like I asked, I was like, so did you like know what you were coming into? And she was like, well, for the first 2 weeks, I actually thought it was a little bit different. I usually were a little bit quiet. After that, it was like, it's exactly what I expected. So like people coming in, it makes it easier for us to vet them. It's more like, do you want to work here? Like, this is what we're like. So it's good. And we get the people that work for us are people we want to work with as well.
Excellent. And then you're saying obviously you're hitting the phones quite a lot. How many phone calls do you guys make roughly in a day? And then how many sort of properties does that lead to? How many do you put on an auction at one time and how many convert? Like,
so
what are the kind of numbers?
We have on the books at the moment, I think we've got 310 live listings. I've actually got a bottle of whiskey because the goal was to get to 150. And that was when it was just me, Lewis and Mitchell. And Lewis got me a bottle of whiskey for my birthday. And that was the goal, 150. And then obviously we've doubled that in a year and a half, and over doubled the team. So the amount of phone calls they do, it's call time. we focus on, because I would, so instead, not so much call number, because if you have one phone call and you're on that phone call for 20 minutes, but that leads to a sale, I'd rather that than you be like, well, I've made 300 calls. And it's like, yeah, well, you've done nothing else. And nothing's come from those 300 calls. But it's like, if you have good conversations, because a lot of it's back and forth. If somebody wants to buy something and you don't know the answer, I'm like, well, go find out the answer. So if somebody asks, like, what's the factor charge of that building? I don't know. Excellent. You now have something to find out. And I'd be like, well, what else does that person want to know? Because if there's objections that they have, ask the person that knows. Do you have to speak to the solicitor to find out the details of the lease, or do you have to just speak to the seller, because they most likely as they know? And it's just go back and forth and do it as quickly as possible. So we target the guys in 3 hours call time a day, which is actually, they probably could be doing more, but a lot of our job is emailing back and forth. They've also got to create the listings to put them on the market. So we chase the photographer, like, where are the photographs for this? Email solicitors, like, we're still waiting on the legal documents. So 3 hours of call time, but on average, we're selling 30 a month. So it's like one sale a day.
Great.
And is the auction live on just one day a month, or is it live all the time?
So we do online auctions, and we do them bi-weekly. So we hold them on a Thursday. They run from 10:30 to 4:30, and we do them every 2 weeks. But the way I always say it is, every day is auction day at Prime Property Auctions, because we've got a massive button on the website that says offer now. And that was one of the main features when I was speaking to the developer that made the initial website. I was like, you need to be able to offer immediately. And that's what we're pushing people to do. Because when people come to auction, their main thing is, I need this property sold and I want it sold yesterday. So if I'm like, oh, well, we've got an auction in 2 weeks, some other auction houses will wait and they'll be like, oh, well, we've got an auction in 4 weeks. We'll wait until that happens. By that time, you're like, well, what happens if it doesn't sell in 4 weeks? And you've waited all that time because someone's like, I want to buy it today. Oh, it's going into auction in 4 weeks. Property investors are fickle beasts. And if they see something they want to buy today, but then the next week, something else better comes up and they spend that money on that project, they're not going to then buy yours as well. So if you've got somebody that's interested at the time, it's like, okay, so what do you want to offer? Are you cash? Are you mortgage? Are you getting a bridging loan? Do you have enough money to pay a deposit today? Can you complete in 28 days? Excellent, we'll take the offer forward. If the seller accepts it, we do the deal. They pay us the deposit, take it off the market. So we can sell a property any day and every day.
And what's been the trickiest part in building your business so far?
I think it's just the scaling and getting good staff. Obviously, when you start out, you can't afford to pay for premium performers. So you've got to get people that are young and hungry. So a lot of the time is spent training the staff. And we are fortunate enough that we've got some really good core guys now. And when they came along, that's what they were. They were like, I don't know really anything, but I want to know. And they were keen, and they're great on the phones. They're happy to speak to anybody. So, and they were bought in. So it's getting, I think the next stage is to real growth is going to be getting people that have their own client book and can go out and win their own business. But I mean, I think I've been quite fortunate, because without sounding too big, nothing has been majorly tricky as of yet. But it's just trying to get, because we spend quite a lot on paid advertising now, and it's now making sure that we don't kind of go past like a saturation level of like, we're now spending too much money and it's not yielding us anymore. So we do monitor a lot of our data, like how much are we spending on that? Okay, how much is each lead costing us? And we're always trying to balance it out. But for the moment, I would say the training of the staff and getting good staff has been the trickiest part.
And where is it you're looking to take the company? Is it you're going to be staying in Scotland, or is there bigger ambition beyond that?
So the goal is to get to $1 million a month within the next 4 years. That's what the goal is. At the moment, we do sell in England and Wales. We don't really run too many ads down there. We did briefly, but there's a couple of bottlenecks we need to figure out. But the idea is become the biggest in Scotland, then become the biggest in Britain. So there is a lot more market down south as well. So we know if we decide to go down there, then we can definitely win a lot of business. But there's different. It's a different law. Like, it is a completely different law for property down in England. So we also need to understand that. And the reason we've done so well in Scotland is because I know how to sell properties in Scotland super easy. Like, I've done it for so long. So I need to almost become very proficient in the English legal system to understand what it is we do, so then we can truly grow. Because if we can grow, there's a company down south that do 50 million turnover. And that's the real, like, further down the line goal, if we can get to 50 million. Because if you've got an asset of 50 million, then it's like, how much is that worth to potentially sell? I've been asked numerous times, it's like, would you sell it? Or is that the plan? And it was never the plan when starting, like, I want to build an asset so I can sell. But again, if somebody came along and was like, we'll give you this much money, and I'd be like, oh. But then again, if you've got a saleable asset and you're not involved in the day-to-day, and you've got a passive investment, why bother selling it? So.
And when did you start to think more strategically on the business with regards to things like that? You know, obviously day-to-day at the start, it was ready to provide for my wife and child that's coming on. When did you start to go, actually, let's move into England, let's move into Wales, let's grow it to this size?
I think it's once you start making, like, more serious cash flow, and you go, okay, well, what is the next step? And it's always, I'm a salesman, so it's, okay, we've sold 30 this month. Can we sell 40 next month? And I could sell 100 this month. And next month I'll be like, okay, are we going to sell 150? So when you're constantly wanting more, then it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do to get there? So my business partner, he's very, like, systems orientated, strategic, and he's like, okay, well, we do this, how are we going to do this, how are we going to do this? And it's good to have that as a business partner, because he's probably more that methodical, like, thinking about things, and I'm just like, let's go, let's just do it, like, we do this,
balance each other out.
Exactly. So we're a good balance.
And I guess a big part of it is probably getting what's in your head, and, like, bringing new trainees on or new people in. It's like, how do you get them?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
doing?
what he always said. He like studied me like a lab rat of, like, well, if you're, like, the perfect, like, sales agent for what we do, how do we take everything that's in your brain, get it out into, like, a script and a process, so we can teach the rest of the guys to do that. So it's been a great help to have him there instead of so that would probably be the main factor to the growth, I would say.
And is he the one that brought in KPIs that you've mentioned a couple of times? You mentioned, like, you track call time, you track all what you're spending and what return you're getting. Was he the one that brought that in, or did you have that aspect already? The KPIs, yes. I think he previously worked in AXA, so it was on the phones and stuff like that. So they were all KPI led. What my main metric has always been is, like, cash collected. It's like, how much cash have we collected versus how much have we spent this month? And that's my, like, sole business basis is, like, are we cash flow positive? Yes. If we're not, why not? And how do we fix it? Okay. So we did, we went down to a conference down in London, and we were doing quite well. And then we went away for, like, 5 days. And we came back and the sales team hadn't performed. And we're like, what the hell's going on? And we listened to the calls, and we hadn't been doing call reviews at that point. And we're like, this is why. Because when we weren't there, they weren't doing the certain things. And that was on us, because we hadn't put the processes of, like, when this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. So we just hadn't put the processes in. So it's almost like we thought we were doing really well, and then we weren't doing really well. So we fixed the problem. So as soon as we try and do something, it doesn't work, we try and figure out why it's not worked, and we implement pretty quickly. But if you haven't been tracking that could go on for 30 days,
exactly.
60 days, 90 days.
Exactly.
And what about, like, you sort of, like, cash flow positive? What about when a VAT bill or a tax bill, do you set money aside for that? How do you factor cash flow, or is that built into the...
So our accountant deals with our bookkeeping, so he will email us and say, this is, like, now we do, because of the size of the business now, we do get a monthly update of where our cash reserves are and what we're doing. And then when a VAT bill's coming in, he always says, like, this is going to be due in by next month. Like, make sure you've got the money. He'll always email us and tell us how much VAT we have, but we always have the money there. There is funds in the bank, and that's my main thing. As I said at the start, when I was like, I need to make sure I've got the money. So we don't really go close to the breadline. We've always got sufficient funds to make sure that we can pay our bills. Because that's what we've always said to any suppliers and stuff like that. Like, we pay on time and we pay really quick. Like the number of times, because if a lot of our business is referrals, so if something sells and then somebody sends me an invoice, I pay it straight away, because that's how I work. If I need to sell a property, it's not sold until I get paid. So I send someone an invoice, they pay it, that's the property sold. So if somebody sends me an invoice for the service, I pay them straight away. And our solicitor's like, wow, that was really fast. And I was like, well, it's sold. You sent me the invoice, I pay it. But I think most people have 28-day payment terms usually, whereas I'm like, on receipt, I've sent you an invoice, pay me please.
And so I bet you're grateful now that your dad told you to go into property.
I am, yes. I'm not. I will never tell him that though, so we can bleep this bit out of the podcast. But yes, no. I mean, my dad is one of my great mentors, because I mean he is a solicitor, and we have a meeting pretty much every single day. We go for breakfast, and he talks about his business, and I talk about my business, and I get effectively free legal advice every day, which is fantastic, and has helped me massively in my journey, I think.
Good. So look, we always end the podcast by asking you what your guiding principles in business are.
My main one is just be sound. Like, genuinely, it's like treat people as if you would like to be treated, and yeah, just be nice for the most part. People think you have to be a ruthless bastard in business, and I've dealt with ruthless people, but they're not nice to deal with. And you always, if you can leave a negotiation with them feeling like, oh, that was a pain. Whereas somebody leaves a deal with me, I like to think it's been a win-win. That's what I want to leave any negotiation with. It's been a win-win. Nobody's going to be beaten down. So if you can just be sound in business, you'll have a very good time.
Brilliant. John, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.